Hey gang, Alan here. Got another update for you real quick. I've got a meeting in a minute, so this is going to be a fast phone call. We're going to look at a little example here of the frost setup for the deluxe shader. How that works. This is just a little simple vignette slapping the pieces that we looked at in our last example in here. Yeah. Okay. So ferns, we got some grass, we got some rocks, we got the conifer tree, we've got the red bush. They are all still packed in their various ultralight or standard modes using our deluxe shader. And then I've just chucked a plane in here to be the ground, and it's just a Unity standard. So let's look here on the frost settings. You see we've got on off. We've got our data texture, we've got our colors, we can do different masking modes. I can't remember if I showed this off or not. If this is redundant, I'm sorry. If you're new, hello, though. So we can cut off more of the center there. We can pow that to make it darker and then boost that to make it. So now right, we got some different fall off modes. A sphere, so this will go from the object's pivot point, sort of radiate outward. So the edges will get frostier than the middle, and then there's noise on top of that. But you have options here, height, a mask texture. You could supply a texture or off if you just want to just frost the whole thing. Maybe we want this tiling a little bit more. Yeah, that looks better. Now we could go do that everywhere, right? We could do that everywhere. Or I think this will work. I haven't actually tested this. Frost sample ST. I've got a material collection set up. Looks like it will. So there we go. So you're like, what happened? All right, I just added a vector here to our material collection. I have all the materials that are in this little vignette assigned. It doesn't look as good on the tree bark though. So for you, we'll come back here and we'll change this back. And maybe the bark doesn't want to get frosty anyway. Kind of depend on your setup. Like I've tuned the branches a little bit. I turned their power down so that they get filled in a little bit faster than the other stuff. Because they should. They should. That's how it should work. And on this grass, maybe we want to come in here and we want to give them a height mask. Right, so that the tip tops get frostier and the bottoms stay ground temperature kind of thing. That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. That's something. All right, but the cool stuff I really want to show you is a lot of people were like, hey, we want the global sliders. Give us the global sliders. That's the thing we're used to. I don't love globals for a variety of reasons. I much prefer this setup, which is already available in the Material Manager. And you can do this with everything. You don't have to do this with the Deluxe shader. You can do this with any shader in your project. This tool is free in the Material Manager repo. Go get it. What this lets you do is, right, we can assign any number of properties here. And this just lets us manage those properties at edit time or at runtime. Extremely useful. It's a scriptable object. You can new one up at runtime. Assign your materials that you need to assign. Modify them. You can apply straight to material property blocks. There's a gotcha there. You can't assign keywords in a material property block. So if you want to do keyword stuff, you got to do that on the material, but then you can change the intensity in your property block. So in the case of something like this frost, right, we can just turn the frost off by changing this value here to 0. And I'll confirm all the APIs for this, but you can look these up by name, so you can find this guy, or you could get it by index and set that property value directly in your code. So if you need a frosty thing to frost up stuff, There you go, right? And we can do it, we can set this to 1, so maximum frost. You can still see our masks working on our grass, looking very cool. And then we've still got our keyword toggle here, so we can still keyword toggle these on and off. Right? Like the great thing about this pattern is this gives us every option we could ever want. Global only works with the exact shader it's set up for in the exact way that it's set up, and you have to know the special word. This scriptable object pattern lets us modify any material at any time, any way we want with any number of things, right? You can use properties that are only on some of your materials and not on others, and it'll just skip them, right, if they're not there. So you can mix and match. If you have a frost in one kind of shader and a frost in another kind of shader, they can all live in this one scriptable object, and then you can modify the properties as you need to. You're going to need to know the right names so that you can set these. Nothing's stopping you from having multiples of these. So you could have a material collection here that has all the shared stuff that you want to do at edit time. I do this a lot for like level setup. If I'm building this like a complicated scene with a lot of different materials, especially if I'm doing custom fog or something like directly in my shader and not relying on a post proc or whatever. I'll have one that's just like all the shared stuff, right? All these shared textures. Oh, I want to make sure all my materials have the same frost texture assigned. You know, because sometimes you have working files and sometimes you copy stuff around and you don't want to have duplicates and you don't want to be loading 2 versions of the same thing, right? Now you're just wasting memory. I can assign it here in one spot. I know I've got it right forever. That's great. And then stuff I want to change at runtime, those can be in any number of separate of these, and it just assigns to the material, so it doesn't matter, right? It works right on the shared material. 0.3, a little low. See, it's just starting to peek in on these ferns here. 0.6, pretty good. Right, we can play with our tiling and our texture. Right, it's a channel mix, so you can sort of get different looks by playing with those sliders. And you've got different colors here, so you could easily do this into like a scorched wildfire thing. Right, because these are HDR colors, so if you wanted to make this, you know, orange and blow it out, and then do this one kind of like a dark gray kind of thing, you could do that kind of deal. I may have these backwards. Oh yeah, that's the highlight. I have that backwards. We want this to be like an orange. And we want this to be like a gray. And then we'd have to play with our colors and our mix and everything to get that to where we like it. But there you go. Put that back to how it was. Okay. All right. So I hope that makes sense. Ask questions if it doesn't. I will include this in a package in the Deluxe Shader because you're going to have the Material Manager installed in order for the collection to work. But I will include this little scene and this little collection that just recycles the other stuff that's already in the other examples. But in this way, we'll be all set. And somebody on the Discord asked about like, oh, I want to do a zone, I want to do a spline or a volume or whatever. That feels like a different tool to me. And this is my like, I like the things to do their one thing and to be flexible. So if Microverse can update material property blocks already with its splines, awesome. If not, that's an extension, Jason, or I should go knock out real quick. Because then that would do all of these things, right? And maybe maybe I can do an extension that works directly on these material collections, so you can kind of do whatever you want. All right, so there you go. Options, flexible options, simpler code, repeatable pattern. It's just everything. It's just everything we love. It's just everything we love. It's just a better way to do it. The global thing's a trap. It seems easy, but it is in fact nefarious. All right, see you guys later.